everyone, welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast, where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Instagram, on Facebook, on Patreon, a variety of places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight, I'm going to talk about using fall-themed food word rhythm cards. So using rhythms based around fall foods, using it in centers, using it in small groups, in just another way. I've talked about these cards before, and so I always love to take a resource and talk about, you can use it like this, you can use it like this, you can use it like this. So in a second, I'm going to get to that. And just in case you hear about something in this video that you're interested in, there's a page on my blog on the videos tab where you can just see all of the things I talk about in these videos, all the links and everything. You can click at the link at the bottom of the tab wherever you're listening or watching this, and you should be able to go straight there. That's an option if you want. So all of the stuff I'm going to talk about is on that links page. If you want to not see me through a computer screen or phone or however you're watching this, I'm going to be at the American Orff-Shillbrook Association National Conference this week. And I'm presenting on Thursday morning about critical thinking in Orff-Shillbrook. I'm so excited about that. And even if you don't come to that workshop, but you're at conference, please come and say hi. It's nice to meet people or reconnect with people. And it's funny when people see me at conferences and stuff and they come up and say hi. They're always like, oh, it's fun to see you in real life. And I always say yes, it is fun, but also I sit and talk to my computer. And so it's nice to see real people and know that me doing these videos and making them to podcasts is actually helpful. So please come and say hi. If you're at AOSA, I'd love to meet you and chat. So, and one more thing. If you want more resources, more than just what you get in these videos, I started a Patreon page a couple weeks ago. There are, I can't remember how many lessons on there already, and there are more every week. So if you want more resources, more things, with PD certificates and written lesson plans and all sorts of helpful stuff, go check that out. And you get a free 7-day trial if you want to see what's included. Okay, that's on the links page too if you're interested. Okay, so these rhythm cards I have talked about before. These are, I call them the fall food festival, rhythm sort cards. I have a whole set of cards that are just regular foods, not themed around fall. So the difference is these foods have things like apple pie, turkey, let's see, what's another thing, pumpkin latte that maybe you wouldn't find in the regular food set. Things that are slightly pumpkin. I don't think I put that in the regular food set. Or hot chocolate, apple cider, cranberries, things that you caramel apple, things you wouldn't normally find in the just regular foods, because that has things like popsicle and popcorn, and just foods that are just sort of regular. So this is foods that are specific to fall, not necessarily Thanksgiving, but fall in general. And I've talked about these before. And on the links page, I have linked 4 or 5 other times in the past 5 years where I've talked about these and used them in different ways. So if you're I want to get these resources, I want to see how I can use them. Well, I'm going to talk about one way tonight, but I have linked a bunch of other ways that I've used them, so you can go back and see how else could you use it. Because I said, I like to, when I have a resource that I've printed and laminated, I like to use it with multiple grades. I like to use it in different ways. Sometimes I'll use it in one lesson and bring it back for another lesson. Because if you go to all that work of like printing and laminating and cutting apart and doing all that, like why use it once? Like you should use it multiple times. So I'm going to talk today about how you can use this with small groups or in a large group setting, and then how you can put it into centers if you're interested in stretching that resource even further. So I've talked about using this like in a word chain, like putting words together and making like a rhythm out of that. So like if you wanted, you know, like, okay, so the first couple words, coffee, carrot, apple pie, turkey. Okay, that's a pretty easy one. Coffee, carrot, apple pie, turkey. So like chaining words together, that's one way to do this. And that's one of the ways I talked about before, adding in a little poem, doing sort of a rondo form, playing around with that in small groups. That's a really fun, easy thing to do. But this last week, I knew I was going to go to conference, and so I had one grade where I would only see one of the 4 sections because of like how the rotation works. And I knew I was like, well, I don't want to do like anything new for just that one class. Like, what do I do? So it was like that one class is like out of rotation. So I pulled out these cards and I was like, what else can I do with this? And I decided to get creative. So I took the cards, and if you were to purchase this set from my TPT store, if you're interested in it, it comes with 30 different food words. That's a lot. That's too many options for a small group. So if I had kids in groups like 2 or 3, 30 is too many cards to go through. 15 is actually not too bad. And so what I'll tell you to make this work in my classroom, it prints, you can print these out 1 to a page, 4 to a page, or 9 to a page. I printed these out 9 to a page. So you could, if you wanted, with those 30 food words and 9 to a page, you could have 9 separate bags full of 30 words. Or you could basically divide the words in half, and then you would end up with 18 bags with 15 words in each. So that's one of the ways that I sort of do this to make more resources with the resource I already have. So splitting up so that kids don't have too many options, which slows them down anyway, but then also to utilize the resource so that I'm getting more bags, more center options out of the stuff I've already printed. So I put kids into groups of about 2 or 3. I gave each one a bag, again, with like 15 food words. And they're all pretty simple words. It's words with either quarter note, quarter rest, or eighth note in a variety of combinations. The 5 combinations you have are quarter note, eighth note pair, quarter note. Let me see if I can find another example. Of course, I don't have them right at my fingertips. Okay, here we go. Quarter note, eighth note pair, quarter note rest, and eighth note pair, eighth note pair. So in rhythm speak, so there's ta, 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 dee, ta, dee, ta, ta, rest, and ta, dee, ta, dee. Where do those combinations come from? Well, if you've ever done Orff Level 1, you've probably read this book called Elementaria. It's a super great book. It was written by Gunhild Kateman, who was originally a student of Carl Orff, then became a co-teacher with Carl Orff. She's really one of the reasons that Orff Schulwerk is what it is today. In fact, if you look at any of the published, like the Yellow Music for Children book, like any of these books that are like most of the source material for what we do in Orff Schulwerk, her name is on here. Carl Orff, Gunhild Kateman. Like she's on here. She's a big deal. So let's put this back. In this book, Elementaria, she talks about a lot of things, a lot of really great pedagogy. There are a lot of fun examples of things, a lot of really great, like simple, easy to follow explanations about like how you might teach, what order you might teach, why do you do it that way. Really great pedagogy. But she talks about these things that she calls rhythmic building bricks or rhythmic building blocks. And it's these 5 combinations of these very simple rhythms. And the idea is that you can put them together in various combinations. Kids get so used to doing that and trying it in a lot of different ways that they find more of those combinations. They find more things. It becomes more fluid, more fluent, so that they can just, at a moment's notice, improvise using those basic building blocks, those basic building bricks. And so what I tend to do is I use these 5 building bricks, these 5 combinations, and I make resources for different holidays, different themes, different whatever, so that when I'm doing an activity, I can pull out cards like this and add a B section where we improvise, where we arrange, where we put things together, do rhythm reading, very simple and very easy, based around food words or seasonal words or things that kids would know, so they can take that rhythm from, like a sample word like hamburger, and they can figure out the rhythm based on that. A word that they already know, a rhythm that they're already, a word they're already familiar with and comfortable with. So that's what's in these bags, these 5 bags. That's why I chose those specific rhythms. Yes, you could maybe do this with a slightly higher grade and use more complicated rhythms, but because of the grade I'm doing this with and because of the purpose, it's those more simplified rhythms. So in these small groups, I gave them a bag of rhythms, and I said, I want you to go through, look through all the words, and I want you to pull out just 3. Each kid in the group needs 3, not 3 for your group. Each kid needs 3. So they go through and they find different rhythms, whatever, maybe, and usually the first time they'll choose based on the food itself. So maybe they'll choose like apple cider, caramel apple, pumpkin pie. That seems like a very possible combination. So once they've done that, then I said, okay, great. Now here's the thing. If you look on each card, there's a rhythm. So like apple cider goes ta-dee, ta-dee, or for some of you, ti-ti-ti-ti, right? Caramel apple goes ti-ti-ti-ti. Okay, and this is controversial because I know some of you say caramel, but I'm a Midwesterner and I say caramel. So if you're like, it's caramel, just throw that one out and don't use that card. But I say caramel, not caramel. So anyway, these 2 rhythms though are the same. So now I say small group, sorry, if you chose 3 cards and any of those rhythms are the same, you have to get rid of one of them. So like for me, I would have to choose between caramel apple and apple cider. I'm gonna choose apple cider because that one feels less controversial. I need to have 3 different cards with 3 different rhythm groupings. So I'm gonna go with graham cracker. Okay, so I have apple cider, pumpkin pie, graham cracker. Okay, and some people say graham cracker. Okay, but I don't live in Alabama, so I'm not gonna say that. But apple cider, I say Alabama because when I took this resource to Alabama music educators, they were like, it's Graham. So if you're like, how rude that you say that. It's because of my lived experience that when I was in Alabama, that's what they told me, it's Graham. Anyway, okay, so the kids have to choose 3 different words. They have to have different rhythms on them. Okay, and then I say, you, in your chosen 3, I want you to choose your number 1 favorite of those 3, your second favorite, and your third favorite. So for me, it might be pumpkin pie would be my favorite. Apple cider would be my second. Graham cracker would be my third. And I say, okay, great. So set those out in order so we know which one is which. All right. For each kid, again, in the group, each kid is going to have their own 3 favorites. And they say, okay, great. Your number 1, we're not going to call it number 1. We're going to call it A. Your number 2, we're going to call it B. Your number 3, we're going to call it C. So for me, pumpkin pie is A. Apple cider is B. Graham cracker is C. And then I'll pull out my handy dandy elemental form cards and we have to read whatever the form says. So like here's the first one, A, B, A. So if I were going to read that, reading my cards, I would have A, B, A. It would be pumpkin pie, apple cider, pumpkin pie. Okay, easy peasy. What about if it was A, B, B, A? Well, then mine would be pumpkin pie, apple cider, pumpkin pie. And what I would have them do in their group is they would read their own. They would read theirs to their group. Each kid in the group would read theirs to the rest of the group. And then maybe they'd read each other's. Okay, great. So we would keep going through. We do like A, B, A, C. We do like A, B, C, A, all through all these elemental forms, the different options that you have. The elemental forms being the most common groupings that you would see in mostly Western music history, but you can see it in other places too. But the elemental forms, just the reason I'm mentioning that is like these are the most common things you would see. So A, B, A, B, B, A, B, A, C, A, B, C, A, all these groupings, we would try all of them. And I would say, okay, great. Maybe they want to mix them up. Maybe they want to do something else. So we would read. As we're reading, I would say, okay, now add body percussion. So for me, it might be like pumpkin pie, apple cider, pumpkin pie. ABAC would be like pumpkin pie, apple cider, pumpkin pie, graham cracker. And they would go through and try those different combinations in different orders. We would do body percussion. We would maybe pull out a non-pitched instrument. So you could do with like a wood block, you could do with a tone block, you could do with a triangle, whatever. So in the groups, they could do that. So my groups, we played around quite a bit. Because like I said, it was a day off the regular rotation. So I just like, let's explore and try different stuff. So in the small group, we did that. They asked, can I redo my food words? Sure. And so we would do the different foods, and then we would switch just to the rhythm reading. Ta-dee-ta, ta-dee-ta-dee, ta-dee-ta, ta-ta-dee, right? You could, if you wanted, you could make it even longer. So instead of just an A word, you could have an A like combo. So my combo A could be like apple cider pumpkin pie. Then like maybe my B combo would be like graham cracker milk. So if I did A, B now, it would be apple cider pumpkin pie graham cracker milk. Apple cider pumpkin pie graham cracker milk. So you could make it longer. So then you have basically a full measure and for A, a full measure for B, a full measure for C. You could do that if you want. Another thing that I would have them do is I would have them do their example, trade with a partner, maybe mix it up, maybe say like, one time I said like, okay, your partner can change one of your pieces, change things out for you, or someone else in your group can mix things up if they want. At one point I said, okay, everybody freeze, everybody stand up, and I had all the groups rotate. And I said, you don't get to change what you find there. You are stuck with the foods that they chose. And so then like they had to land with a different set of foods, a different set of things in a different combination. I let them work with it for about a minute, and then I said, okay, you can change a couple things about their combination. You can't change everything, but you can change a couple things. So like going and doing what someone else had created, someone else had worked on, and just sort of shifting over and trying it again. So it was a lot of like, take this, try it, morph it, change it, move it, do this, all based around this idea that like we're using these forms that are preset for us, and I'm limiting what they're allowed to do. Instead of just like take 12 cards and put them together in any order. That's tricky. It's easier when you have like just a few things that you're repeating many times, because then they get really comfortable saying like apple cider pumpkin pie, apple cider milk, or whatever. They're comfortable with those words. But if you're having them read like 12 different food words, that gets confusing. So limiting them down to just a few things and letting them play and range and rearrange and try in different ways. That's really exciting. It's fun when they get to do it with like a non-pitched instrument. Maybe you give them a hand drum, maybe give them something else to try in a different way. You could also have them take these things and then grab a whiteboard and just transfer the rhythms over and write out the rhythms. You could have one kid make a setup and then test someone else, be like, okay, read what I came up with. Like there are so many different things you can do with these once you have them and you're playing with them and you're exploring with them. These fall cards I think are really, really fun because they like the regular foods, but they really like interacting with foods that are like specific to fall or specific to Thanksgiving or whatever. So having these cards printed and ready to go is like a super fun, exciting thing for them to try and play around with. Similar, but not exactly the same. Oh, by the way, you could take any of these activities, and if they've done the one in class, then you could put them in a center, and the kids are going to interact with them in very similar ways. You could, like with these cards in a center, you could put some of the elemental form cards, and you could have them recreate what they did in a small group. In our large learnings, like whole class learning, but you're in a small group, you could have them recreate that in a center, where as you're rotating through centers, one of them is these rhythm cards. You could put it with the elemental form cards, and then they'd be set to go and sort of recreate this activity on their own. You could if you want. One more resource I'm going to talk about really quickly, because you could take this same kind of idea. I have a different set of resources, and this is called like Read the Rhythm, or what did I call it? Read the Rhythm to Earn the Fall Foods. Okay, that's what it's called on TPT. But basically it comes with the game board kind of like this, which says like challenge number 1, fruit. And it says put 8 fall friends in a row and read their rhythms to earn some fruit for the table. So it's like you're trying to like fill up a Thanksgiving table by reading certain rhythms. And then the rhythms look like this. They come printed out like this, so it comes 12 to a page. There are some with like just quarter notes and eighth note combo. Oops, that's the wrong thing. There are some with like 16th notes included. There are some with half notes included if you want. So you could print these out, set them out, and like the example that I give them, there's a little pre-printed page that you can put in centers to help kids sort of know how this works. But they have to basically take all those cut up rhythms, put them in the order they want, and then read them out, right? And so like this comes with the resource, and then there's like snack food version, right? So not fruit, there's like snack food. And then there's like a version of like just the turkey. If you want to earn the turkey to put on the table, you have to do the same activity. But like that's what I intended when I made it years ago. But could you do this same exact activity you're doing right now with this? Yes, you could have them choose 3 different characters. Maybe they choose a red maple leaf, an orange acorn, and a yellow leaf. Okay, and then you choose which one is A, which one is B, which one is C, and you put them in an order. You read them in the order, and you give them A, B, A, C, or A, B, B, A, or A, B, C, A, and they have to go through and read those in different ways. Now, it's set out so that you can have a whole set of rhythms with just quarter notes and eighth notes. Or if you want to add in half notes, you can. If you want to add in 16th notes, you can. This is going to give you a 4-beat rhythm so that each one is basically a measure. And you can level it however you want. If your kids are only reading the simpler rhythms, give them the simpler rhythms. If they're reading the more complex ones, give them the more complex ones. But I hope that you see, like, you know, when I created this years ago, I thought, oh, I'm just going to put it on the game board, end of story. But now it's like, but I have all these cards pre-printed. They're all fall themed. I could do so much with them. You could have one kid take 4 of these different cards, put them in a row, and then the kids read them and play them on the temple blocks, or read them and play them on wood block, or tubanos, or whatever. Like, you can have them use this as the example of what you're allowed to play, or what you're supposed to put together and play. So it's just another way to take this resource that you already have and repurpose it and use it in another way, so you're getting more out of the resource and you're not limited to like, oh, well, if I put it in centers, it's the only way to use it. No, there are many ways to use it. But like I said, if you get the resource, it comes with this, so you can print this out and easily put it in centers, but you can also pull the cards and just use them for reading rhythm. It makes it really, really simple to do if you want. Okay, I hope that shows you like another way to use these resources. And like I said, like the fall food rhythm cards, I linked on the links page like 4 or 5 other times in the past several years where I've talked about these on Musical Mondays. So if you like get these and you're like, I want to see like a bunch of ways to use them. Well, I've linked a bunch of ways to use them if you want. One way that I even used in a concert, did in a rondo form. Like there are a bunch of things that you could do if you want, but it's nice to like know that you have a resource and be able to use it like this, or like this, or like this, or like it's great to have options. So I hope this gives you one more option that you can use for like either of these resources. Or I mean, you don't even have to use these themed ones, but you can, and kids like love them when they're themed. So like I said, be wary of these cards, because kids will be like, I'm going to choose caramel apple because I love caramel apple. Not because the rhythm is so great, but because they're like, I just love caramel apple. So they will definitely get fixated on that, but then it's fun to have them play around with that and try that in another way. Okay, I hope this gives you some ideas of how you can use this resource in another way. Like I said, I'm going to be at AOSA this week presenting, but then also just like hanging out at the conference. So if you see me, please come and say hi, and like, let's chat and connect and you know, I don't know, hanging out. So come and see me at AOSA, or if not, send me a message on here if you want to like connect or whatever. But I hope you all have a great week, and I hope I see so many of you in Des Moines at National Conference. And if not, I'll see you all next week for another Music Mondays video. Have a great night, everyone.